Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing really well. I have waited to do this video. So we are aware that Ruby Frankie pled guilty and her trial is coming up very soon to figure out how long she is going to get in prison, but it is confirmed now that she will be serving time behind bars. And it was very interesting because it kind of led the question of what is Jodi Hildebrant, who is the business partner, going to do, because it seemed like Ruby Frankie was throwing all the blame onto Jodi Hildebrant, and Jodi Hildebrant had a decision whether or not to fight back or basically surrender and take the same plea as Ruby Frankie. Now, people didn't know what she was going to do because there was a bad outcome for her either way, which she deserved because she's an awful person. But I can now confirm that Jodi Hildebrant has pled guilty as well. Now, I think they agreed to different counts. I think Jodi Hildebrant has agreed to 4, and I think Ruby Frankie did 4 or maybe 6 as well. We'll get to it. We're going to dive in. We have a news article from NBC, and we also have like the attorneys, the legal people speaking on her behalf. So let's get into it. I have waited to do this. You know I hate Jodi Hildebrant. You know I hate Ruby Frankie. I am praying on their demise. And whenever I heard the Ruby Frankie one, I was just very curious as to what Jodi was going to do. Also, little personal update, y'all. I'm a month into going to the gym, and I've been working on my arms. Let me show you, because we're making progress. We're retiring the little Twinkie phase. Well, we're trying our best. You know, you can't change the personality. But let me show you. Wait, look, hold on. So, wait, I'm, working on my arms, right? So, if I, do this, or wait, hold on. Look. Well, my arms are shaking, but I used to have no arms. Okay. Anyways, on with the video. That's for the people that keep calling me Twiggy in my comments. I'm working on it. All right. Let's get to this. Jodi Hildebrant, business partner of ex-family vlogger, pleads guilty to 4 counts of child abuse. Hildebrant and Ruby Frankie collaborated on their fucking stupid-ass parenting thing. So here we see her. You look lovely in this outfit, Jodi. Can't wait to see you wear it for hopefully the rest of your life. Jodi Hildebrant, the business partner of former family vlogger Ruby Frankie, pleaded guilty Wednesday to 4 felony counts of second-degree aggravated child abuse. Now, again, I think they had 6. Yeah, they had 6 on them. She was charged alongside Frankie for 6. Wait, maybe Ruby also did 4 as well. I know they're all not agreeing to all 6, which is interesting. They're like, yeah, we're guilty, but we're not that guilty. I hope whenever they get put to trial or whatever is happening, or they get their proper sentencing, that they get the max, because they deserve it for what they put these children through. She was charged in Utah alongside Frankie in September with 6 counts of felony child abuse after the pair was arrested in August. Police had found one of Frankie's children with open wounds after escaping from Hildebrandt's home, so her home, as well as another one of the children in similar malnourished condition inside of her home. Judge John accepted Hildebrandt's plea deal, which described the infliction of physical torture and severe emotional harm to the children that were found by police in a Utah court, and dismissed the remaining 2 counts. So I think this is what Ruby also did, where they agree, but then they dismiss the other ones. So I think these women are still working together. Her sentencing, like Frankie's, is scheduled for February 20th, so we'll find out then. Hildebrant and Frankie collaborated for their stupid... I'm not promoting their stupid ass company. Ruby Frankie, who also pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse earlier this month, had agreed in her own plea deal to testify against Jodi Hildebrant. The mom of 6 was known for her now removed YouTube channel. In a statement released before the hearing, Frankie's legal representatives said that Hildebrant had systematically isolated Frankie from her family and made her vulnerable to a distorted sense of morality under Hildebrandt's influence. So that's a way of saying, she persuaded me to abuse my children. You did it. You still did it. Frankie initially thought Hildebrant had the insight to offer a path to improvement, according to the statement. What bullshit. Hildebrant took advantage of this quest and twisted it into something heinous, the statement continued. So, again, it does seem like Ruby's team are taking the approach of throwing Jodi under the bus. So I'm very curious to see how Jodi's team are responding to that, whether they're going to take full responsibility for it, whether they're going to say, no, we were in this together, or whether they're going to throw Ruby under the bus the same way that Ruby is. But it's it just pisses me off that the children were the ones that had to deal with this, and yet the adults who did it are throwing around responsibility like a fucking hot potato. So established in 2007, this talks about their stupid fucking company, whatever. Former clients of the company told NBC News that the program separated spouses and basically changed the behavior and encouraged people to cut off those that didn't live in accordance to the teachings. Frankie, who's listed as a certified mental fitness trainer on the website, often appeared with Hildebrant in videos. Prior to her arrest, Frankie had also been under fire for some of her deleted videos on YouTube. And now let's get to this. So this is Ruby Frankie's business partner, Jodi Hildebrant, took plea so children don't have to testify. Now, again, I said this in my video about Ruby. I believe that this is why they took the plea deal. I think they took it for a selfish reason, so that in their eyes, if this ever went to trial, or even in the eyes of the court, they would be looked at as, you know, they did all these bad things to children, but they're now protecting them by not making the children have to testify. And that's a very traumatizing thing, even more so for children having to relive everything and be put onto the microscope. So I did kind of think that this is what was going to happen, and Jodi and Ruby would be like, we're not making the children testify, so give us a lesser sentence. We'll see what this person has to say.
I haven't had much to say about this case prior to today because I didn't feel it was appropriate to do so until today. Ms. Hildebrant, my client, has pled guilty today to 4 counts. She has done so because she takes responsibility for her conduct in this matter.
Isn't it ironic how these people only take responsibility for it when they're caught? Wasn't she doing this for years upon years? Yeah. So responsibility is only taken when we're caught, right? Mm-hmm.
Her guilty pleas, she decided to plead guilty before Miss Frankie entered into her plea agreement or agreed to cooperate with the state. She has pled guilty because she did not want these children to have to testify.
So now we care about the children. Now we care about them, and we don't want them to have to suffer. Now we care about them. So it's interesting that they're kind of throwing Ruby under the bus immediately by saying that Jodi actually wanted to do this first. So in the eyes, they're trying to make Jodi the better of the two.
She takes responsibility, and it is her main concern at this point that these children can heal.
Of course. It's Jodi Hildebrand's top priority for these children to heal. Of course it is. Of course it is. How convenient. Not buying it.
Physically and emotionally. We look forward to sentencing. That's all I have to say today. There are people all over the world that are coming.
We look forward to sentencing? He said, lock my client up. I am tired of her ass.
Saying that Jodi Hildebrant has destroyed families, that she has hurt a lot of people. Has she seen this kind of the backlash that's happening, and what does she have to say about it?
I'm not going to have any more comment, nor is she, at least prior to sentencing. Thank you.
Bitch, if you're not doing any more comments, why is there 7 minutes left of this? Surely you're going to talk again.
When will the sentencing take place?
February 20th.
Oh, he's talking again.
Thank you.
The terms of the agreement as far as how that.
Oh, I'm so obsessed. He went, I'm not talking anymore. And he walks away, and then he goes, or am I? Motherfucker, just stand there and answer.
Sentencing, and is there a specific range that the court has agreed to?
She's agreed to a prison sentence, 4 counts, consecutive, the same as Miss Frankie. Exactly the same as Miss Frankie.
In Utah, there's rumors about consecutive.
He keeps going. Thank you. Maybe I'm not done yet. Just stand there. If you don't want to answer one, then you can fucking walk off. Oh, pissing me off. Okay, so that's interesting. Jodi and Ruby have agreed to the exact same counts and the exact same consecutive order, which means that they probably want to buddy up in jail together. Send them to 2 different ones.
How long could her sentence term be then? Could all 4 be consecutive together?
Ultimately, it's up to the Utah Board of Pardons, and I'm not going to speculate at this point how long she might serve. Thank you.
Oh.
I'm Washington County Attorney Eric Clark, and I just have a brief statement that we'll read, and then we'll be happy to release this along with the signed plea agreement to anybody that requested today. So this morning, Jodi Hildebrant pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. She will remain incarcerated, awaiting sentencing, which will occur on February 20th, 2024. As part of the plea agreement, Ms. Hildebrant agreed to be sentenced to consecutive, as opposed to concurrent, prison terms for each of the 4 counts. One of the toughest things we ask victims of alleged abuse to do is testify in a trial.
This is not alleged.
We are pleased that in this case, and in Ms. Frankie's case, that won't be necessary. that both defendants will be going to prison without having to hold a trial. We're grateful to the multidisciplinary team that investigated this case. We have great law enforcement officers, caseworkers, children's justice center staff.
We have great law enforcement and child protective. Well, that's ironic because didn't we find out that the children had been reporting this and trying to get attention, and neighbors were reporting this to CPS and nothing was done for years upon years? But yeah, we have amazing, amazing, amazing people working on this. Thank you so much, whoever the fuck this is, for such an accurate statement.
Both in our area and in Utah County. Additional information about Ms. Hildebrand and Ms. Frankie's cases, including redacted investigative materials, will be available upon request 30 days after sentencing of both defendants. For further information...
That's interesting. So 30 days after February, whatever date it was, I think it was 20th, a lot of information that has been sealed is going to be released. So I can't even imagine what is going to be said in that, considering what we know already.
2, the statement of defendant in support of guilty plea that was filed with the court this morning, and we'll be happy to make that available.
Why do they film these things in front of the fucking loudest areas possible? Are you fucking kidding me? Motorbikes, planes.
Thanks, you guys.
Why were 2 of the counts dismissed?
Oh.
So, in any plea agreement, there's always some back and forth in that. And in this instance, 2 counts were dismissed, and what Ms. Hildebrand agreed to do was to not contest that for each of the terms that we prison, and that those went consecutive as opposed to concurrent.
But why not all 6?
Well, so
He just didn't answer the question. I'm so glad that person went, why did they not agree to all 6? And then he says whatever the fuck he says, and then the person goes, so why did they not agree to all 6? Like, you didn't answer the fucking question. I'm aware that this is like what these people do, but like, answer the fucking question, motherfucker.
Oh, I think that's a fair question. And that's what, as a prosecutor, that's what you deal with every time you handle a case, right? Can
you answer it?
If our plea offer had been, there is no plea offer, plead straight up to all 6, then the defendant has no incentive to go to trial. And we're not afraid of trials. We don't want to avoid trials. Trials carry some risk in that you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But more so when you have victims that are having to go through the trial process, that's difficult. And so if we can get a result that is similar, in Utah, there's the maximum penalty for second-degree felonies is 30 years. So if we had 15 counts, the maximum amount of time would have been 30 years. Okay. And each count carries a 1 to 15 years. So the difference in reality between 4 counts and 6 counts, in our calculation, wasn't enough to justify asking victims to go through a trial.
Part of Ruby.
Okay, well, I mean, finally fucking answered it. Barely. So basically, yeah, that's it. That if they had testified for all 6 versus all 4, their overall time in prison isn't going to be that different. And it doesn't warrant having to put the kids on, children on trial, for those extra years. It just bothers me that, like, you can be like 6 counts and 2 of them got dismissed, right? And you can be like, 2 got dismissed, but they're agreeing to 4. Those 2 ones that were dismissed were, months, weeks, years of abuse that the children went through. So to just dismiss them is very annoying, and I don't really give a shit about, it's easier to just dismiss them, because when you really dissect them, they are things that these children went through, and they deserve to be, acknowledged.
Frankie's plea deal was to testify against Jodi Hildebrand. That was like a big part of that plea deal. Does that mean that is irrelevant now? She will not have to testify against Jodi?
That's what I anticipate, yeah.
Okay, so that's also something to note. We were told with Ruby Frankie that she was going to be testifying against Jodi, but now apparently that's not going to be happening, and they're both just agreeing to the same thing, which is so frustrating because it means that these women are taking the easiest option out of this. Sure, they're still going to have all their prison time, but they're taking the easiest option, and I still believe that they're working with each other behind the scenes. They're both taking the exact same plea. They're now not even going to be working against each other. They're fucking working in harmony. What the fuck is going on? Like,
when it comes to prosecutors always have to determine who they think is the more culpable party in co-defendants. Who do you believe is the more culpable party?
I'll be more comfortable speaking about specifics in the cases after sentencing, and then we wait for the 30 days to make sure that appellate time is run. And that's just us being super careful to make sure that procedurally we're not doing anything that could complicate a case down the road and overturn a conviction. So I'm not going to get into thought processes at this point.
In yellow, KSL 5 News, the defense attorney said that Hildebrant chose to plead guilty before Ruby Frankie made the decision to plead guilty. Is your office aware of the timeline there and which plea happened first? Which agreement happened first?
No, in that we weren't talking to both Hildebrand and Frankie, right? It was clear to us we knew that Frankie was going to plead earlier than Hildebrand. Thus, like Frankie's the deal that Frankie pled to included her agreeing to testify against Ms. Hildebrand, and also that we would not submit things to the parole board asking that she stay in prison for a longer term. So that was in Frankie's plea. That's not in the paperwork that you guys will see for Hildebrand's plea.
In Frankie's case, you agreed to stay neutral for parole board hearings. Did the same agreement happen with Hildebrand or no?
No.
So there's I know we can't predict the future, but so the door is open for the Washington County Attorney's Office to go to Hildebrand's parole hearings and say, we believe she needs to stay in. Okay.
That's a good question. So the answer to that is yes. More commonly, the prosecutor's office can submit a letter or submit things in addition to the pre-sentence investigation of my declaration parole. But there's always the option of actually going in person.
Listen, I'm aware that things happen timeline-wise in court and in hearings for a specific reason, but in an ideal world, I would have loved for Ruby and Jodi to be, sitting in that courtroom together, and at the same time, their lawyers have to go up and say what, if they're pleading guilty, if they're not, to how many counts, because it would be stupid to acknowledge that these parties don't act based on what the other one is doing, right? Strategically. So what I want, it can't happen now, it's too late, but would for those two women to sit down and at the same time they both stand up and they hold up a piece of paper that basically says what they testify to, because I'm sure you would get a different fucking thing than them both agreeing to 4 counts, the same 4 fucking counts, and pleading guilty and choosing not to testify against each other. I'm sure you would get a different fucking outcome. I'm aware of the reasons why they don't do that, but fuck me, I wish that they would, because then you would get the fucking honest truth.
Aggravated child abuse in Utah is a second-degree felony. Do we need to look at these laws in Utah?
I hope so. And that's something that I've been in talks with legislators already about.
Thank you.
Is that as a result of this case?
Like I said, I don't want to get into my thought process on this case until we're further along. But I have been talking to some of our legislators.
Why do they film these in the most loud environments? Are you kidding me? Fucking hell. Are we filming this on a main fucking road?
I have been talking to some of our legislators that are opening criminal justice reforms about the level of severity in Utah law.
When did those conversations start?
In the last few months.
Why are you so fucking jolly? What the fuck was that? When did these start? What was that?
Level of severity in Utah law.
When did those conversations start?
In the last few months. Thanks, you guys.
As far as child abuse cases.
He's too fucking jolly. And that's also the loudest fucking video I've ever watched in my entire life. Well, there we have it. Jodi Hildebrand is also pleading guilty to, who's surprised, the same 4 counts, the same 4 continuous counts, dismissing the other 2. It's almost like all of their lawyers are working together. Which is disappointing, but is to be expected. So, let me know your opinion. I want to update you. There we have it. So, we'll wait until February 20th whenever we see the actual hearing. I will see you very soon. Thank you for watching, and may justice please be fucking served.